Whoa, she's finally here to plot me? That's a feisty character right there. I better watch it. So should you. Hey guys, Akariss here. Bringing you a brand new unit analysis on a brand new mythic hero, which happens to be Mila. Now, I'm sure most of us saw this coming. It was pretty evident from Duma being the contrast to this, despite her not being Astra to battle against Duma. So that might have been the big shocker. Initial opinion, I like the art, and I like the style of the unit itself. So there is a bit to discuss, but stay tuned and let's go through it. First of all, I'm going to cover the skills and her stats. So what you see is right there and right there. Her weapon is pretty much a nice buff the whole map kind of skill, which is nice. Just 2 to all stats to all her friends. So that's appreciated. And it also has some synergy with her preference skill, which is pretty good. So this is pretty much our second case of isolation, not counting Crom, who isolates himself. After Bridal Fjorm, we now have Mila's turn wheel. Mila's turn wheel is actually a pretty easy condition for her to check because of her very high base defense and her weapon synergizing with it, and pretty much an open A and seal slot that you can put in there to make sure it's consistent. So Mila's isolation effect will be really good. She's thankfully not an armor, because if she was, then that might make it pretty difficult to work with the isolation effect. But since that's not the case, she's actually pretty good. However, her competition being in the form of Air and Peony, who are already really good light mythics, does question whether she really has a place as a light mythic to support the team. I'm gonna say yes, but let's go through why that would be the case. In terms of fodder, she actually comes with a Rally Plus, which is appreciated, Bracing Stance 3, which is pretty good, and Sabotage Attack 3, which is okay, but the stance and the defense Rally Plus are definitely appreciated for a mythic or legendary hero. And on her debut banner here, she shares with Alm and Leaf, so that's also pretty good if you have either of those as merge projects. With that being said, let's jump into some builds. And this time I'm going to show you exactly what it is and why you might consider using some of this stuff. So first up is a pretty standard build, honestly. Like, you just get one of and give her like Fury and a defense res seal. This might not seem that impressive, but it does the job realistically. I mean, Fury, you want both defense and res. As a high investment skill, Fort defense res is ideal, but Fury is okay because it gives you both defense and res, which synergize with Sabotage Attack and her Mila's turn wheel. There is literally not that many dancers and even pretty much rally traps that can deal with Mila's turn wheel and consistently hit the Sabotage Attack. Even if she gets hit by chill defense, most dancers cannot get this high-end defense without some really extreme investments and at the compromise, like at not being basically being hit by Bridal Fjorm. So like if you pump defense on a dancer, the contrast is you're gonna probably get hit by Mila. I'd say most AR defenses are gonna have to adjust for Mila being a unit, and honestly, that's gonna be a problem. To give you an example of this, I'm actually gonna show you some of some AR maps that are pretty top tier that are really gonna get hurt by Mila's existence, and that's without Mila even being invested, as you can see right here. So what I got is something like this first. Now it's a very common map in my community. As you can see in the top left, we got Alm with a rally trap. And I think it's kind of funny that we're talking about Alm when talking about Mila, of course. But basically, he rallies Azura. Make sure you go check out the rally trap video if you have no idea what I'm talking about. He rallies Azura or Soth, probably Soth, and then gets danced. But the thing is, if Mila is in the first lane, she will absolutely isolate him and shut down that rally trap from happening, which makes it far more predictable to kind of think about what your tank needs to take care of, or just not have to deal with Alm at all. If that is what you desire. Of course, you can also hit the dancers. Both Azura and Sylvia are going to be low defense, so you have a lot more options to play with, and a lot of defenses are going to be less consistent in how they handle Mila's presence. Additionally, we have this sort of map, which covers a lot of range using range mythics on the front line and Elwood in the back with a rally trap. Again, the rally traps are going to suffer because something like this is like, oh, I see a range unit. All right, I'm going to put my, like if you look at Python here. If you look at Python, for example, you're like, oh, I'll just put a red unit in front of him. But the thing is, Elwood rallies Python because you've baited him out. Olivia would dance, and then Elwood would come and engage on you, and maybe even hit you with like a Glacies. Like you might use Brave Ike, for instance, to try to bait out Wrath, but you'll just get wrecked by Elwood because he has Hardy Bearing, very high speed, a low skill, and basically just Glacies all over Bike's face, which is going to hurt a lot. But now with Mila existing, and she doesn't occupy a support slot because she contributes to your AR scoring, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt a lot, and it makes maps like this far less consistent. Maps that don't rely on rally traps or don't rely heavily on a dancer to set up their defenses are not affected as much. Cavline. But realistically, you know, this is going to hurt a lot of these maps, and Mila is going to be a nice technical choice. She's not going to fit into all team comps that you face, unfortunately, but there's definitely ways you can repurpose her depending on your merges, investment, and such. Back to the builds then. So something else you can definitely consider when talking about Mila is a carry build. Now, I'm not going to really encourage this too much because realistically, she's a dragon, so unless you have Spring Athune to remove that dragon effectiveness, it's gonna suck. She can still kind of do her support role even with a build like this because it's the C preference skill is isolation, and even a tank appreciates that. You pretty much isolate like a dancer, and then you know kind of what is coming at you, which units are gonna come hit you. So you could do this, and this is not without bonus stats, so Mila will rotate through the mythic bonus units. She gets bonus stats. She'll become a pretty good tank. The idea here is you pretty much have an additional tank, double baits and such. It's still pretty high investment, like the A and B skill for sure, but you know, you could also use distant counter, null seed disrupt, keeping her preference weapons, supporting the rest of the team, and the idea is you get like one shots maybe through adaptive damage on lopsided defensive units or offensive units that you might run into on air defense teams. It's a idea, but I don't know how much I'd push this idea. It's still something to think about because she does have good defense and res, so you could potentially do this. And finally, the last thing that I want to talk about is the ability for her to use Infantry Pulse. Now, there is some ways you could change around the build as well. You definitely could run Wings of Mercy so she can jump in and like snipe a unit, applying Dark Breath to the enemy team, and that could help a lot. The idea here is that you're basically pulsing Gale Force teams, and we've had Fire Mythics for like a while now, so the fact that she's infantry means she could do something like this. Just to give you some examples of that, of course, you want to think about the teammates when you put something together like this, is definitely going to be someone like Athena, and I'm just trying, there are definitely a lot of options, like Navarre probably does this better, but I'm dropping Athena in here because she has Desperation on her weapon, and that's pretty nice when you consider jumping into the enemy team, taking a hit, and then sweeping the rest. Plus she has pretty much one of the highest speeds other than Long Q, who might actually be better for this, but despite that, if you're an Athena fan, low HP, can get pulsed by her, and if you pair her up with, of course, Anna on her bonus season, this is with bonus stats, you can pretty much pulse Athena. She'd get 2 pulses from like Mila, Anna, Quick Impulse, of course, and you could even throw in, you know, an additional dancer because Anna would, of course, take up that bonus unit slot, and then you'd have something else to even complement the team. So this is definitely some way of thinking about the team comps you do. And definitely could mix and match based on what bonus units there are or whatever Gale Force units you've invested into. But Infantry Pulse is definitely something to consider if you were thinking about it. Just as a reference, there we go. So yeah, I mean, once you throw in like Fort Defense Res, you throw in a Fort Defense seal, Fort Res seal if you want to, Wings of Mercy support, smiting, she becomes pretty good at supporting the team. And the fact that her breath provides like a map support for 2 to all stats is really appreciated as well. Despite all I've suggested, the problem comes that is she better than Air and Peony? Because Air and Peony are not only free Light Mythic heroes, but pretty good ones at that. Both of them are very, very strong and enable a lot of strategies. So I'm going to show you guys, as you may be familiar with the other legendary ranking system, I will do it for mythics as well, and that's gonna be something like this. So what I feel is that Peony is by far the best light mythic. I cannot state this enough. Dancers give you so much flexibility. She even has like Flower of Joy and movement support to like let you guidance on units that otherwise wouldn't be able to. So she works with tanks, she works with Gale Force strategies, she works with hit and run strategies, she works with everything. Like Peony's an amazing light mythic, and I don't think that Mila is going to take that spot. However, Mila is definitely on par with someone like Air. They both contribute to different strategies. So like Mila can enable Gale Force if you run Infantry Pulse at the cost of getting rid of Isolation. Again, it's something to consider based on your teams. And so can Air. She can do Air Force, as it's known, a strategy which pretty much uses Air to initiate onto the units using Fury and her recoil damage to set up Wings of Mercy. So that's the thing. But I feel like Air definitely is like Mila wants to pretty much shut down a dancer maybe, or shut down a rally trap. So a lot of tanks are just going to be able to take her defense buff and sit and tank without a problem, whereas Air can kind of support through multiple turns with sniping units with her dagger because she has good offensive stat spreads, sparkling boost possibly to heal, so you have like good second, third, fourth, fifth turns with Air. With Mila, you got to kind of predict what to isolate on the second and third turns if you have to, you know, like that's not going to be as good because then Mila is just a melee dragon realistically with low speed, so she's not going to be able to clean up as effectively as Air does. The thing is though that Mila, especially against single dancer teams, is you could use like a cav, a range cav like Lynn for instance, or Wrath or whatever, Reinhardt. You can snipe a unit, dance that unit, pull back, and Mila's isolated the dancer from basically stopping you. Like Mila and Peony can basically do that, whereas Air and Mila can support a tank with the extra defense and res and pump it up. Combining all three mythics is actually not bad either. Air, Peony, and Mila on a triple mythic gives you a lot of coverage, or you sub out someone like Air for Mila depending on the comp that you run. Overall though, I feel like Mila is just a nice technical choice for a team comp rather than a staple. I think Peony should pretty much be on all your light mythic comps without a doubt, unless you just end turn with some super stacked tank. But generally speaking, Mila and Air either come together or they got to be subbed out for one another, and you got to run with whatever other comps you have. So I feel like, yeah, Mila's pretty good, and you should probably consider her as a core. If you have low merge Air, possibly low merge Peony, but Peony should be definitely considered as a first priority, if nothing else. If you haven't been merging Air, Mila is definitely something nice to consider for merging. With that being said, guys, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What mythic hero are you looking forward to next? Did this help you at all? If it did, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will definitely see you guys for the next legendary hero release next month, mythic after that, and so forth. Much love, guys. Take it easy. Peace.